So this is Tristan Grigolite.
This is Micheal.
This is the Weeabuds podcast. This is the
December or November edition.
November 24th, right before
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's like 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you want to kick off the Dragon Ball Super conversation or not?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So basically, me and you disagree with this. I think it's a pretty cool arc.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is that the kind of ideas that they were playing with, ultimately, they all lead to disappointing conclusions. Like, let's talk about all the most unique aspects of it. The Galactic Patrol saga, basically. This is the Galactic Prisoner Arc, I think is what...
Yeah, its formal title is the Galactic Prisoner Arc.
Yeah, it's a badass name, badass title. Moro looked badass.
Yeah, great design until
the
final form.
I think Moro and his transition, like his design transition, from that kind of animal, what kind of
goat
kind of, yeah, like some demonic goat thing.
I think he was based on like Satan, from what I read.
Yeah, you could see it,
but
like seeing that dude transform from this badass demonic goat to like some Cell rip off, some cheesy Toyotoro mimic. Like, I just, to be honest, it embodies my problem with the entire arc. That's Moro himself is kind of the large problem. You've got this guy who's relatively interesting. At the end of the day, he's kind of like bootleg Frieza.
I don't know if he's bootleg Frieza, but there's definitely parallels there. I'd actually argue there's probably parallels with all the of the sagas.
Well, maybe less so with Boo.
There's some Boo stuff in there too, man.
I would say because
the ending was straight up the Boo saga.
Well, it was a inversion on the Boo saga. But we'll get to that. I try to recall that in a bit.
So like the first half was like Frieza Saga Redux when they're going around Namek.
Yeah, like he's got like a crew. I mean, like, to your credit, what you're saying is basically right. If you think about even Frieza, I'm not gonna say he's a Piccolo ripoff from Dragon Ball, but Piccolo had a crew of lackeys, and he's going around, he's trying to get Dragon Balls, and he kills he kills Krillin. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's just it's Demon King Piccolo saga in space. You know, it's a little more than that, but you're just like, damn. Anyway,
dank.
But then, so I my problem, I think, with the Moro arc is just the continuation of like my issues with Super, where the stakes have never been higher, but they're also the lowest they've ever been.
Because of Beerus?
Not because of Beerus. I've heard a lot of people, the Beerus detractors. They're like the Beerus hate squad. I like
Beerus. I think he's pretty cool.
Man, that dude's he's a baller.
They always find reasons to like keep him sidelined, which I appreciate.
I don't care about like all that. I like Beerus. He's flavored. He's flavored to like he's just in there. But my issue is that the stakes aren't high because we haven't seen people die. I'm not talking about like Trunks' entire universe.
That was pretty dank.
But then it was
a lot of people died in Goku Black Saga.
It was so damn ruthless. It was crazy. But I'm talking about like they immediately, like in the Goku Black Saga, right after it, like they kill his entire universe, like erase him. They just time travel back and then just have Trunks live with himself. The consequence is that Trunks has to live kind of like in exile in his own timeline.
Like a different version
of it. So it's lost, but it's not lost. So it's muddied the stakes a bit in terms of like, at the end of the day, there was significant loss, but I think probably a lot of viewers are confused, and they did that to make it more of a happy ending. But like, I know the truth that is really dark. You know, they're just gone. But I don't quite understand the time travel dynamics and all that stuff. Goku Black wasn't perfect, but
it was cool stuff though.
It's probably, to me, the best saga. People who say that the Dark Tournament, what is it?
Tournament of Power.
The Tournament of Power, the Universe Survival arc or whatever. That thing is the best arc, and I'm like, well, that's kind of almost the same argument, like as in Yu Yu Hakusho, anime Yu Yu Hakusho, that the Dark Tournament.
It was the best arc, though.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like, because of the fighting. That's
I like the variety of characters too.
The best. I'm the only person in the world that will say that the Buu saga is the best Dragon Ball Z arc. I think it's the best of the Dragon Ball stuff. Not Dragon Ball itself, because I think probably everything in Dragon Ball is better than Dragon Ball Z. But then when you're like a teenager, like we were, and you're seeing all that stuff, you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna go Super Saiyan, and like all this crazy stuff. Like I love it. I always loved Dragon Ball Z better, but I think Dragon Ball probably had the more like creative,
fun,
unique, like adventurous stuff. They had the mix of like this really cool, like getting stronger, like but never being able to surpass people. It was a very interesting story. And not to sidetrack too much, but like my problem with the Moro arc, if I had to, make it very clear, because you want to capture how much you like it and talk about what you like.
Yeah, I'm okay talking about what I don't like first, though.
Yeah, I'll say what I don't like, and then you can just pile on. You don't necessarily need to agree with it. You can say I don't agree, and then we can talk about it. I don't like the fact that there were all these cool ideas that just kind of didn't go too many places. But they weren't capitalized like they could have been. You've mentioned that the problem is that we're seeing the manga, and the manga's pacing is the biggest issue. You know a little bit more. You have like some details on that.
Yeah.
Like you're a bit more thorough in your critique of that. What is the issue with the pacing?
Well, I think we talked about this before, but basically the length of this saga is about the length of the Frieza saga in terms of page count. But the Frieza saga was like a weekly comic back when it was released. It's like every chapter was released a week, so there wasn't these long gaps in between.
Yeah.
This is released in a month, like once a month, so you have a month of like nothing happening, and then you get your chapter.
They couldn't get away with kind of the emptiness of what happens in each of these chapters if it was weekly. They would need to keep it interesting and have some.
There is stuff that happens each chapter, but it is mostly like towards the end,
So for the final chapter of the Moro arc,
a shitload of stuff happened.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of things that took place in the Moro arc's finale. We still have like one like concluding chapter.
It's basically done.
But it's done. It's done. But like the thing is, they just crammed so much, and I'm like, I wonder if you could have spaced out a bit more. And
would you have wanted them to?
I don't know. I like that so much happened, but I also didn't like it. None of the cool things
got to settle.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like, sure, it'll translate a lot better in anime form. It'll be one of those situations where if the anime isn't better, then somebody really messed up on the anime end. Like, you made a comment like the Attack on Titan manga looks like dog poop.
It does.
Like doo-doo, baby. But but then the anime itself is quite beautiful, and it's got the best soundtrack ever. Outside of like the Gun and Unicorn stuff. That's just my Sawano bias right there.
What would you do if like they got Sawano to do Dragon Ball Super Z or whatever soundtrack? I don't know. It'd be weird.
I think the tone would just not fit. His tone, like when things would be happening in Xenoblade Chronicles X, it was the most dire stuff you've ever seen. We've drifted.
Speaking of back to Dragon Ball Super.
Back to Dragon Ball Super.
So you didn't like that the stakes never, like there was no sense of loss or threat.
That's a super problem. Dragon Ball Super as a whole, we ain't gotten, people aren't dying. You know what I mean? And
I guess people haven't really done.
No, and
except for maybe Frieza.
Look, I love Vegeta. Look, if you're gonna do a Goku Vegeta buddy cop show. Which is basically what Super ended up becoming, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you're gonna do that, at least give the guy something other than being like a heel. Don't just rely on Vegeta to be Goku's backup or the guy who gets like squashed before the main event. Don't have him come out to. That's terrible, man. That's not how Vegeta should be.
I think, and that's probably my biggest complaint for this arc is that they did set it up as a Vegeta redemption storyline. Like numerous times throughout the storyline, they built towards Vegeta feeling remorse for his actions on Namek.
Yeah.
He gets like this pretty cool training arc on Planet Yardrat.
Some real good mystery and opportunity for Vegeta to do something.
He even gets like a really cool power, and then in the end, like the final battle, they have it set up perfectly for Vegeta to come in and like be the hero, and then they use him to give Goku power to.
And can we talk about real quick what happened there? For spoiler alert, folks, if you haven't. So Moro is murdered in the final. He's killed. Anyway, so,
you see him splattered all over the.
Anyway, so yeah, exactly. So our boy,
that was cool.
Yeah, our boy Moro, he got so basically he was absorbing the Earth.
Mm-hmm. He fused with it
because he absorbed the dearly departed Miras's angelic powers, and so he couldn't contain it. He just used some of his power to merge with the planet.
Yeah, because he can merge with things.
He can do some planet stuff, right? So he absorbs planetary energy or whatever.
And then he became the planet.
He became the planet, and then but he couldn't contain his power because of the angel stuff's too buff. So he's gonna explode. He's gonna blow up the galaxy or whatever. And then the threat is that if they don't stop him, they won't be able to use the Super Dragon Balls because there are some in that part of the universe or galaxy or whatever. It was kind of difficult. The language they used was galaxy, but then when we talk about the universe, it's like many galaxies. So I can't tell in Dragon Ball is there just one galaxy.
I think they're all within the galaxy.
Yeah, well, all the Dragon Ball the Super Dragon Balls are in different galaxies, like different dimensions. That was the plot. Is some are in this dimension. I forgot what the numbers. The 7th universe, and then was the 6th?
Yeah, they're all over the place.
But I guess Super Dragon Balls only exist between these two universes.
No, they're all over, aren't they? I thought they're
only between those two. I thought.
No kidding, I don't remember that.
Yeah, basically Beerus's brother, whatever that guy.
Champa.
Yeah, he was
6 and 7 then, if it's between those two.
He collected the ones in his, and he had to come into ours and
steal
them and stuff. We were still missing.
I remember that.
Yeah, but
maybe because they're so close together, that's why they can have them.
Yeah, unless I'm completely they either translated it wrong, the English version, or I'm just a dumbass and I don't know. If you're not going to be confident, you can't win a good argument, right? Luckily, we're not having one. But yeah, my issue is that there's just not the stakes just aren't there. They're doing all the most badass stuff ever, right? You have the threat of the universe being destroyed, right? And then it's just not going anywhere. And then for the Moro arc, you have Vegeta set up to be a beast. Nothing really comes from it too much. He gets the power just to set up Goku. You got Moro, and he's basically just going around doing some Frieza stuff, collecting Dragon Balls.
Let's go around. Well, he gets the Dragon Balls pretty early on, which is cool, and that's when the arc takes a turn is after he gets the Dragon Balls.
He asks to be young again or something, right? Or full power.
Full power.
Yeah, and
he gets full power.
So it's he turns instead of this dope. It wasn't satyr. It's a goat thing or whatever. He
was a dope goat for a while though.
He turned all sleek. He lost all his dope hair.
He had a huge beard.
Yeah, it was all sleek, and then he goes and he fuses with the what was that guy's name?
His name was 7-3 or something like that.
Number and then number. Dumbest name for a guy.
It's an okay name for an android.
It's terrible. Anyway,
that guy had a pretty cool power.
He absorbed people's powers.
Yeah, he was Kirby.
Yeah, he wasn't he?
He was straight on Kirby.
Yeah, so I didn't care for that, and then I just don't think it went anywhere. And the Vegeta thing, I'm why do I gotta reference Naruto to show how to manage the plot? It's how do you manage two kind of rival characters where one is still the main character but pay respect to it? It's they manage Naruto and Sasuke in such a manner where it's not always Naruto that gets the win, or it's not always Naruto who's the best. You have Sasuke getting certain wins. But they manage plots and arcs differently. They're more convoluted. There are multiple enemies, so you get it so that someone like Vegeta, for example, or Sasuke would go and have an enemy, and then they would get there, and it was an important enemy. They defeat them, and then there's another. They bounce around. It's more complicated for the original Naruto. I don't know what the hell's going on with Boruto. But
I don't think they do either. That's why they're bringing in the original writer.
Yeah, there was some interesting stuff with that. They managed. It wasn't just one person being beast. It was different techniques, different elevations. They differentiated. And when you see Vegeta going down, the track of
the Yard Rat,
yeah,
fusion, spirit fusion. Or Vision?
Spirit Vision technique.
Spirit Vision, yeah.
Like, you have a lot of hope there. So.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be cool, and, like, you know, there's still some cool stuff, but, like, again, like, the climax of the story is that Moro fused with the planet. That would have been the perfect time for him to, like, come in and, like, split him from the planet.
Yep.
But,
disappointing.
Didn't happen.
I think that embodies it. I'm just hoping that, like, somehow they manage the stakes a bit. They bring back characters dying.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, well, characters haven't really died that often anyway. I'm like, in Buu Saga,
everyone died.
Everyone was dying left and right, and it was a real bad situation for people.
Yeah, like I think one of Buu's techniques is called like the human extermination technique or something.
Yeah, well, the way they managed that, some really good stuff about the Buu Saga is they had Goku be dead. Goku's OP because he's got instant transmission, and it's like if he can't go and get some Dragon Balls, then we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. So all you gotta do is take the Dragon Balls out of commission for a bit somehow, and then have people die. You don't need people to be dead forever. No one thinks anyone's dead forever.
Just put them out of commission.
Put them out of commission.
They should have like next arc. They should have I don't know, like Bulma use the Dragon Balls to become Yonder again, like in the Broly movie.
Yeah.
And then, like, right after that, like, someone comes in and just starts, like, killing people.
Butcher the entire Z team is eradicated.
And they're like, oh my god, where's the Dragon Balls at? And Bulma's like, sorry, guys.
Alright, so what do you like about the Moro Saga?
Well, you know, I'll be the first to admit that it's not perfect. But I do like what it does present. There's things that you were disappointed about, like the little hints of things. Like, for example, Majin Buu. They hint at that.
There you go. Now you're doing the specifics. See, I forgot. I'm like, what saga are we talking about? I didn't even remember Majin Buu was in this thing. That was a badass turn.
That was cool. And, like, you know, even though it wasn't as fully developed as it could have been,
fully developed it, yeah.
I still thought it was cool.
I hope that things come from that.
Yeah, he's like, still in that form. That's kind of cool.
That's character development right there. Mm-hmm. What are they going to do?
I could see Vegeta splitting him.
Oh, man.
Like, splitting Kai from Buu. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know what that means for Buu.
I'm just waiting for some evidence that they deconfirm GT. Majin Buu was hanging out in GT.
And then he fused with Boob, didn't he?
He does.
That's
but
stupid.
You know who else was hanging out in GT? You know, the only real evidence we have right now that GT has been decanon is
Ultra Instinct?
No, that could be taken away by Grand Priest because it was given by Mirror when it shouldn't have been, or some BS thing.
And then like he'll be like, hey, like I'm gonna take away Super Saiyan Blue and also Beerus and Whis. I don't want you to hang out with these guys anymore.
Yeah. And also your memory is being erased. It's like, okay, so Kibito Kai was in GT.
Oh shoot, he was.
Yeah, and then he's not in this.
No, they split.
They split, dog. So it's like, let's get by the end of Super, they'll fuse back together for some stupid reason. It's like, oh god, come on, just do like a parallel dimension arc, like the Dragon Ball
Heroes.
Yeah, where it's just like, oh, it's kind of
like, hey guys, like there's Super Saiyan 4 right over there.
There are ways to acknowledge that something happened but didn't. It's a different mythos though, like the Dragon Balls getting used too much in Dark Star, Dragon Ball things.
Yeah, they haven't like they don't even really use the Dragon Balls too much now.
They shouldn't go down the route of making the Dragon Balls like GT canon stuff.
I guess like the things that bother you about this arc, like they don't bother me as much. I'm like, yeah, okay, they could have done more with like Spirit Vision, or they could have had more characters doing cool stuff when Moro's gang comes to Earth. But I still thought that the stuff that was in there was cool enough that I was satisfied. My only complaint was the finale.
Really?
Yeah, I was let down by Vegeta not getting the win. Like it was so clearly set up for him, and then
yeah, I actually made the condition. Like I was like, I will take back my concerns about the arc if Vegeta takes the win. But why? Because it would have been brave. I'm like, wow, Vegeta closed an arc. My goodness, how could they do that? Like, who would have complained? And it would have been kind of not shocking as much as like, damn, you would have known it was possible. But you didn't think it would happen because they didn't think they had the balls. No. And they didn't. It's as simple as that. It's like, no. And it was like, man, that Goku turning around giving a thumbs up or something. It's like, oh god.
Did you see that meme where it's like who's never beating a
Yeah.
storyline villain, and
This
it's like
guy.
Piccolo pointing at Vegeta.
Yeah, it's pointing at Vegeta. This guy. Speaking of Piccolo, it's like, okay, come on. I get that they just went. They had Goku or Vegeta get all buff. They powered him up, and then he got cut anyway. But then, come on, these Z fighters.
At least the androids got to do some.
Let's make some relevance.
Yeah, next arc needs to be a Piccolo arc.
So do you give me some reason to believe that Android 17 should be as buff as he is? Like something, like manage it. You gotta manage it. Okay, manage your power level stuff. People
yeah, like they should have had Android 17 just come in and like waste Boo. like to be fair, he was kind of blindsided by Cell. He might have always been this buff for all we know.
Okay, so quick. Do we need to know? Do we need the Dragon Ball Super folks to manage power levels?
At this point, like I don't know if they could.
I don't know. It's just create an excuse.
Like yeah, they have to have an excuse.
Make it up.
They like if you can't just have them be like, oh, like even with Frieza, I was okay with. He's like, oh, I finally trained for 6 months. Like I've never trained.
Like, oh, that's believable. Once he says that, I'm like, oh, I get.
Like that's serious shit
that's
there.
That's serious.
That's
yeah, and that I agree. It's like they give me an excuse, and with Frieza, it was kind of funny, but also like I could see
on point.
He's not a human. He's an alien,
and he's always been kind of like what's the term I'm looking for? Like into himself, narcissistic.
Yeah, but like it's fascinating, like that he's always kind of like in his little cart thing and just kind of hanging out, and then he's like, oh, I guess I'll do something. So it's like, you know what? It makes sense. You know,
I don't know if you could pull it off with too many other villains.
Yeah. So when we talk about power level management, it's like
have Piccolo go to a new Namek and just absorb them all.
Android 17 could have said like what he did was he went to like volcanoes and he just practiced controlling his infinite energy.
Have like Bulma make like a power up pack for him. He's like freaking Mega Man.
Something that like makes it so like I understand why he was able to do some of the OP stuff in Tournament of Power. They said he wasn't that buff.
He was buff.
He was pretty buff.
Didn't he go head to head with Top at some point?
He went head to head with.
No, with Jiren, I think.
He went head to head with Blue Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Goku. He was able to do it. I don't think he did Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, but he could do Super Saiyan Blue.
That's enough.
That's broken. Super Saiyan Blue is beyond Super Saiyan 3.
Like way beyond, I think.
Yeah, it's like
Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku is just like
you couldn't. Yeah, it's just some weird other level. But you couldn't get me to believe that Android 17 is as buff as Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Super Saiyan 3 Goku was like the end of Dragon Ball Z. Like this, you don't get buffer than something like that. Like you had like the stupid power of Gotenks, Super Saiyan 3,
like tearing holes in reality.
Yeah, it's like wow, that's awesome. It's like the power level stuff's it's just wild now.
Well, they're like half of them are gods.
Yeah,
which is pretty dope.
I like that. I like Vegeta. I like the possibility of something like Ultra Instinct where they had Goku go down a different track. He dislodged from Super Saiyan. Goku now has the opportunity to not be the Super Saiyan guy.
How do you feel about Goku having mastery over Ultra Instinct? Because I have mixed feelings about it.
I think that I only need one thing to be completely comfortable with, and that is something I already have, which is the knowledge the manga is continuing.
So they're just gonna make some
way. They have no way to manage that other than like they have to make up stuff about, and so it's like, okay, let's see what you do. I've never been more excited.
There was a chapter when like Goku was in Ultra Instinct Sign, like the unperfected version, and it got jobbed so hard. I was horrified. I'm like, oh man, this is terrible that they're doing this.
I'm glad. I'm like, hell yeah, job that thing. And then Vegeta came in. I was like, "You done it, Vegeta!
You're so cool.
You done it!
Look at how cool you are.
End this arc, bro. Do it now!" And I'm like, I would have been happy if he had ended it right there. I'm like, yes, like you did it, Vegeta, instead of classic Goku win. And okay, so the ending of Dragon Ball, or the ending of the Moro arc with basically having Oob you know, the reincarnation of Boo basically give some kind of inverted spirit bomb energy.
Like some divine energy thing.
So it just reflects the end of the Boo saga, like you were kind of referring to.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like they had like the scene where like everyone on like the planet's giving their energies to Vegeta, so he can apparently give that energy to Goku. He can like place energy inside of people on top of ripping it from them, I guess.
Yeah.
And he takes everyone's energy and then powers up Goku and then wastes the villain.
It's interesting because right before Moro is actually sucking the energy out of people on the planet. And it looks kind of like how taking the spirit bomb energy would look. It's just kind of getting ripped out or something. Everyone's getting weaker, but it's going to Moro. And then Vegeta starts punching the planet, and it's like, yeah, you're doing it. This is how it's gonna happen. And then it doesn't. And then you're just like, damn, Vegeta, that technique sucks now.
He can't rip it fast enough. I think, right? That's what he said.
Yeah, they were like, Vegeta, you're real buff now, and your energy is uncontrollable. Like when he was in Yardrat. And then it's like kind of like, oh, you still suck, Vegeta.
Do you think they're gonna like reveal that Vegeta learned other techniques there too, or will it just be spirit fission?
I hope he didn't learn anything else because we didn't see it. He got a job, so I wouldn't be happy about it.
It's like, well, why didn't you pull that out?
Yeah, I'm kind of like not too happy about it. I'd say it was cool that they had Galactic Patrol stuff happening where they got like the little badge
symbol.
Stuff. But it's like, okay, it was just Vegeta and Goku. They didn't really do too much. That part didn't last much. But like if that lasted a little longer, that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it was mostly to set up Miras, like who he was.
Yeah, but like that was like, oh, that could be some cool hijinks, like weird, interesting stuff happening.
Like have him go out on a beat.
Yeah, it's like, man, this is going to be interesting. They pair Vegeta with Miras or Goku with Miras, and for somebody that kind of complements them, just to have them kind of like doing interesting stuff.
They could have had like Vegeta partner up with Jocko, go around solving crimes.
So the problem with it would have required plot.
Well, like
isn't too much.
They could have done like a bunch of like one shots or like little episodic adventures, and then have the reveal. You know what I mean?
What I liked was Goku Black Saga because it did have a plot. Okay. Final kind of comments on Moro arc before we move on to the Game Awards thing.
I'm interested to see where they're gonna go with it. We should know pretty soon. I think they're gonna reveal some stuff at Jump Festa next month.
Oh yeah, when is Jump Festa?
19th and 20th of December.
So a month.
Pretty much when that next chapter drops.
Maybe they'll reveal a movie.
Maybe. I haven't heard any rumblings, but you never know.
Yeah, I hear you.
With COVID, it's kind of tough to say.
Yeah, COVID's terrible. Okay,
You want to talk about the Game Awards?
Yeah.
All right.
My final comment is make Piccolo relevant again.
Yeah, like the next saga needs to be a Piccolo.
Make Piccolo great again.
Have him go to like Demon King realm or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Something dope. Anyway. So, all right. So now we're gonna talk about the game. It's that time of year. We're getting close to the finale. We'll probably do another podcast not too long from now. We'll talk about 2020 in review. What is our game of the year? But like we're kind of doing that right now by going through these lists. But there may be some games that we thought were maybe not game of the year, but best in certain categories that aren't currently nominated for those categories. And of course, the year isn't over yet. But for me, in terms of games,
pretty much is.
Pretty much is, yeah.
Like, I don't see any games coming out.
I don't see a PS5 coming to me anytime soon. And even if it did, you already mentioned you'd be playing games that are on the PS4.
Yeah, like, the first game I'm planning on playing when I get a PlayStation 5 is Horizon Zero Dawn.
That's what I'm very much hoping that you do. I beat that game.
Maybe Kingdom Hearts 3 also.
Yeah, I was thinking about Kingdom Hearts 3, but don't play that before Horizon. Don't do it.
Don't play it when you're not playing it either. We're going to go on that journey together.
We'll go on that together. We'll finish the story that needs to be finished. I hear you. But, all right, so let's go through some of these categories. So it's that time of the year, the Game Awards. Game of the Year nominations included Doom Eternal.
Crap.
Ooh, I have a very terrible Doom story that I could tell you about, like, Doom and Doom Eternal. And I don't want to get into it now, but it involves me attempting to play a gyro control, like motion controls on the PS5, because I had played it on the Nintendo Switch and I thought you could play it PS5. I thought motion controls were a thing for shooters, but apparently They're
Guess
incredibly rare, and I'm horrified by that reality. But that's a whole conversation, because I just think like they'd be a good equivalent to a mouse, actually, or good analogy to one. So Doom Eternal, which you shouldn't dog the hell out of, because the videos I've seen are some of the best things I've ever seen in a game.
Sure.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about that in another category. And then Ghost of Tsushima, this game called Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2. Hades is pretty popular, and some folks that might be listening, whoever you are, all three of you listening, would basically dog me for not knowing what the hell Hades is about.
But of those 3 games, I think me and you are most familiar with Final Fantasy.
There were 20 games I just mentioned or listed off.
No, I mean, like, of those, we all were really most intimate with 3 of them.
Yeah, we are. That's right. Animal Crossing should be Game of the Year. That's my son.
You know, like, in this pandemic year, like, let's be honest, it basically is. It's the only way we can get outside and socialize and do stuff. But
yeah, Animal Crossing was like a big thing for everybody.
I don't know if it's the most meaningful game this year, but you know, I still play it. Do you still play it?
Nope. I
that's right. You don't play Switches because you hate Switch.
I quit the Nintendo Switch because of the Joy-Con drift on a brand new set of Joy-Cons that I played.
Are you sure they were brand new?
They were brand new when I got them, and then I played 100 hours of Dragon Quest 11, and they drifted like crazy. I thought I had cleaned them. And
what are you doing to your Joy-Cons, dude?
There's nothing that you could be referring to me doing with my Joy-Cons that would make any sense for it causing Joy-Con drift.
Nah, it's like a known problem.
Yeah, it's just a lot worse of a problem than I thought, because I immediately got Joy-Con drift on these things. Anyway, so I'm not playing a Nintendo Switch game anymore. I'm just not doing it until I see a new model with new Joy-Cons that don't look like the old ones. Like, these got to be Joy-Con.
They're like
Plus.
Joy-Con Plus.
Yeah, dude. So if they're not Joy-Con Plus, I'm not playing it, and that's tough for me because that's sad because I really wanted to get the only game that is coming to the Switch in the immediate future that I'm interested in is the remastered or the port of Super Mario 3D World. I beat that game, but then there were like some like special post game worlds, that, a lot of post game content.
Yeah, I never beat the post game content.
Yeah, I didn't beat all of it. I beat a good amount, and then they added more stuff. So I'm interested in how much they add.
I think most of that game was post game content. Like, if you think about it, there's like a few worlds, and then it just goes nuts with post game stuff, which is cool.
So, so we'll see what happens there. I'm upset at Nintendo, and I'm a big Nintendo fanboy. So the fact I'm saying this is pretty tough for me. It's all about Sony. Now I want to get a PlayStation 5. I just beat Horizon Zero Dawn. I thought it was amazing. But anyway, yeah. So Game of the Year, Mike. For this category, which one's Game of the Year for you?
Like for me, Ghost of Tsushima.
Of these categories, okay. Of the items they listed. Yeah, I actually selected Ghost of Tsushima as well.
Emotional story, cool world to explore.
Yeah.
Really amazing combat.
I mean, we played 4 of the games on this list, actually. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Great
Ghost
battle
of
system.
Animal Crossing New Horizons. Last of Us Part 2.
Let me ask you a question. Which game do you think was more fun to play? Ghost of Tsushima or Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Which was more fun to play?
Like, don't count the story, just sheer combat.
Oh, man.
That's a tough one, actually.
I don't think it's fair. But if I had to say it, oh, man, that is a tough one. I really liked Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat system. I think it's the greatest RPG combat system I've ever played. Now, when I'm talking about playing an RPG, the combat system, I'm not going to say it's a means to an end, but it really is about the role-playing, the story. And so it's kind of like second fiddle. Like, you don't get that kind of like immersion or interaction that some kind of action adventure games allow you to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't get to climb on stuff or find hidden things in a forest, and like Ghost of Tsushima's combat would allow me to like run in and be like "Arr!" and like challenge people to duels, and
there's so many layers in
sneaking
Ghost of
stuff.
Tsushima's combat system that like I'd have a hard time thinking in terms of like sheer like swordsmanship stuff. Like I think it's the best sword fighting.
I think you could have a full podcast on a comparison between like Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn, because they have very similar game structures, I feel,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of certain things at least. But the combat deviates substantially from each other, whereas Horizon Zero Dawn barely has a melee type combat system.
It's like bows and stuff, right?
Yeah, and there is like a melee attack, but it's kind of bare bones. And Ghost of Tsushima is like so much you with the sword getting up close.
Yeah, it's
And,
amazing.
yeah,
It feels so good to play as.
It's so dope. I think at the end of the day, unfortunately, you have to give it to Ghost of Tsushima. The combat system in Final Fantasy VII Remake is a miracle. Like the combat system in Ghost of Tsushima is just really well done.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one.
That is tough. I don't know if it's fair to compare.
I don't know if I'll agree on this like a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like
when Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 comes out.
I hope Square Enix doesn't try to just get weird and like completely reinvent what they've done.
They don't need to.
I hope that they know what they have is like solid gold. It's like the pinnacle RPG system, like a perfect balance between like some kind of an action combat system and who knows. I just think it's so baller.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so moving on to the next one, and I mean we both played Last of Us too,
which was perfectly fine. I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good story. I say it's got a better story than Ghost of Tsushima by the nature of
it being a movie.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost of Tsushima is intentionally fractured.
Mm-hmm.
Its main plot line is kind of straightforward, and like it's a really good story. It's just not the same kind of focused plot that The Last of Us Part 2 is all about. And of course, the graphics of Last of Us 2 are amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and probably the best on this list. Definitely better than Ghost of Tsushima, but Ghost of Tsushima's art direction is just glorious.
Yeah, like it's hard to have that level of graphics when you have an open world game. One thing I'll give to Ghost of Tsushima versus Last of Us is that Last of Us is an extremely scripted game by nature, so pretty much my experience is going to be basically the same as your experience with it, without too much deviation.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima, you can have like your own personal adventures.
I'll tell you this: the next category of best game direction, I gotta give that to Last of Us 2, because when I think about like directing a game, like what are we talking about with that? Like getting all the pieces coming together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
artistic vision.
It's like I'm trying to think of like producing versus directing. Producers got to make sure everything like comes together in the sense that
it's like a more of a business related role though.
So I'm just like thinking, okay, well, how does that work from the game standpoint? Like, director just makes sure every piece kind of comes together to one cohesive experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I guess you could make a solid argument that Ghost of Tsushima should probably get it for that, because of just how well they pull off that kind of Japanese setting.
I see where you're coming from with Last of Us though, because it is more of a unified vision. Like it had like a message that they wanted to put out there, you know what I mean? I mean, you could argue the same thing with Ghost of Tsushima, but all of the elements in Last of Us are made for its point, you know?
Yeah, it has to culminate into something. It has all the parts before it sort of have to come together and build into that. And I guess you could say that's the same for Ghost of Tsushima, but I think it's like there's a lot of things you don't need to do in Ghost of Tsushima,
Mm-hmm.
but what you experience of Ghost of Tsushima is going to be good. Whether you experience a lot of that or a little bit of it, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But Last of Us 2, you're going to experience all of Last of Us 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people would say, some people will explore more, they won't notice all of this amazing stuff. Your adventure in Last of Us 2 is going to be dependent on how involved you are with the environment, things like that. And I'm like,
How much you care about the characters.
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing is like I would say it's not so much about how much you care about the characters. It would be just how much you are going around just kind of looking at stuff. There's a lot of beautiful design stuff.
Are we talking about Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima?
Oh, Last of Us for the beautiful design stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, let's go to best narrative. Once again,
Last of Us.
Once again, I get a Last of Us because it's just such a. It's just a movie.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's hard to beat a movie at a story.
I never once felt like crying when playing Last of Us 2, though.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely felt like crying when playing Ghost of Tsushima.
That ending's pretty emotional.
Yeah, so
which, you know, to be honest, now that I think about it, like Ghost of Tsushima, like the whole point of that game was to get to that moment.
It's
a hell of a moment.
Anyway,
hell of a moment for sure.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy VII Remake pops up on a bunch of these lists, and I'm like,
I just don't know if it's that good. I mean, it's good.
No, I just don't know about that Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Like every time I think about Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm like, okay, cool music. Looks nice for the most part, but like I get the feeling like 10 years from now when I want to like go back and experience the Final Fantasy VII story, I'll probably play the original.
Yeah, this game's not as good as Final Fantasy VII. It's just as simple as that. You know, it's sorry.
It's a 4-hour segment of a game dragged out to 40 hours.
Yeah, there were things that worked that were really good, and a lot of things that didn't actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like I like the idea, don't like the execution.
To me, I feel like the last 3 chapters of Final Fantasy VII Remake fall apart.
There were some things about the final chapters I liked, but then like going into it, I was like, "Oh man, I'm so stoked! This is where like something's gonna happen." And then, I mean, like I spoiled some other games. Why don't I spoil Final Fantasy VII Remake for people?
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert! You should have played the game because it was good.
It's like a year old at this point almost.
I guess it's gonna be a year old in 5 months or 6 months or something.
No, like 3 months, dude.
No way. Didn't it come out in like
March?
Late March or something?
Yeah, March, I think.
Well, anyway, the plot deviates from the original. That's all. Like, that's the twist. It's like the twist.
It's not a remake.
The spoiler is that there are spoilers. That's not what I like to tell people. It's like the biggest spoiler I can give you about Final Fantasy VII Remake is that there are spoilers. It's like there's some stuff in there, and I don't think anyone knows what it is. You can't say that it's not a remake. I think that it's not a remake.
There's definitely reasons to think it's not a true remake.
Absolutely, but the thing is, I don't know what the hell happened there.
It was weird.
I thought I would be a lot clearer, but it wasn't. Some people told me like, well, I'm gonna say it straight out. It's like some people told me that Sephiroth turned into a time traveler and he came back and he did something. Mm-hmm. That's where those games. I don't know if that's true.
He did something.
Something's happening, and I don't even know if it's Sephiroth.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the Ultimania thing makes you think it's not.
Yeah, it's like this is an entity that appears to these people as Sephiroth or something. Like, what does that mean?
What are you trying to say? You know, it's like, what are you talking?
Didn't
about?
the Ultimania say that there's like 5 Sephiroths running around or something?
I don't like whatever you're referring to. So stop saying that to me. I'm not happy about that.
There's like a past version. There's the Final Fantasy VII original Sephiroth. There's entity known as Sephiroth, and then there's like another.
I don't want to get into this. It's like
that's its own podcast.
Like yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake is a convoluted mess. Final Fantasy VII to me wasn't actually that convoluted.
Not too bad.
It's pretty good.
It got convoluted because of the compilation.
Yeah, it was an interesting story. It had some kind of complications where it was like, oh, you thought what I showed you was this, but it's this because it had an unreliable, protagonist, and it was like, oh, that's an interesting way to manage it. And he did it well. It was pretty straightforward, but then, like you mentioned, the compilation stuff made that kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I mean, I don't need to talk about the rest of this list because
those are the big ones.
It's just going through it again.
Like, yeah, we don't need to talk about we don't need to talk about best esports team of the.
Yeah, or sorry, esports teams. Ori and the Will of the Wisp. The Ori games look good. Haven't played them. It's just kind of
I think the new one's coming out on Switch.
Yeah, it's either already on Switch or it's coming out. I think it might already be on Switch. I'd probably bet money that it is. Maybe I would lose money, but I would bet the money that I would lose. So best score in music, Final Fantasy VII Remake has gotta get it for that.
Yeah, it's got it. It's the best soundtrack in years. But that's not fair.
Because it's of the remixes of
yeah, it already has has its foundation, one of the best soundtracks ever.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And then they got Hamazu doing
to mixed results.
Yeah, overall
fantastic, but there's some duds.
Yeah, most of what Hamazu contributes is good, but like to me, at the end of the day, what I was looking for as a Final Fantasy VII remake, I was just injected a different tone. That's like, why did you say you were gonna make a remake of something just to make it?
I wanted more of like an acid jazz vibe, or no, not acid. I wanted prog rock, and they gave me acid jazz.
It's not what I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go in there like, okay, best performances. We got
Abby,
Ashley Johnson as Ellie, Laura Bailey as Abby.
Are you Team Ellie or Team Abby? I'm Team Abby.
I thought Ellie's voice acting was better in the game. I'm Team Abby because I thought that Abby's story was more interesting, like you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought Last of Us 2 wasn't that good until halfway through.
I got
when you play as the better main character.
I got super angry. I had to play as Abby.
Were you pretty pumped when Abby bashed in Joel's head with freaking
spoilers? Oh god!
Everyone's played it already.
God. Oh.
I was pretty pumped.
You know what I'm not happy about? Look at Ghost of Tsushima is clearly like a Japanese inspired.
Yeah.
It takes place
in Japan.
Yeah. They have the English voice actor listed as one of the people competing for an award.
Yeah, I played that game in Japanese.
Now, the guy is actually physically the guy. The Daisuke Tsuji is Jin Sakai. He looks just like... He's Daisuke Tsuji or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the dude. But the voice actor that I heard was whoever was the Japanese voice actor.
I think it's the guy that plays Zoro from One Piece.
Yeah, well, whoever this guy was, he was pretty good.
That guy was amazing.
If I had that guy on this list, he would be voicing.
Japanese voice cast for Ghost of Tsushima was like just some of the best voice acting I've heard in the game.
So you and I both played Ghost of Tsushima in Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
if you're playing Ghost of Tsushima, you have to play it in Japanese.
That's what you told me, and I didn't disagree. And so Jin Sakai is Japanese voice actor. If he was on this list. Mm-hmm. I would give it to him.
I would have given it to the uncle.
If the freaking uncle, if Lord Shimura was on this freaking list, he would get it in a heartbeat.
What a legend!
What a the stuff with that guy in that game, where that game goes with that. I'm like, my god!
What a masterclass!
I was like, I want to quote him because of the ending of that. We spoiled all the other games, but we're not going to spoil Ghost of Tsushima.
What a beautiful day, or something.
Yeah, let's not spoil Ghost of Tsushima. We'll spoil all the other ones. Ghost of Tsushima, play that thing.
Yep, game of the year.
It's got tough competition. Ghost of Tsushima gets game of the year. That'd be pretty cool. Look, I'm gonna tell you why. Let me be there. Let me make. We'll
have our own podcast on what we have as game of the year.
I was just saying, okay.
Save that for
But I may forget why.
You won't forget why.
I may forget.
You'll get back to it.
Okay. Games for Impact. I don't know any games for Impact.
I think it's a charity or something.
I don't know. Maybe it's the games that made the difference. Like, I don't mean to be insensitive. I don't know what that is about. So it's the reason. It's like I do agree with people not voting because they didn't educate themselves. I would say that's bad. You should have educated yourself.
But it's better than not making a terrible decision.
It's better than voting for someone like for no reason.
Like I voted for that lady because she's hot.
Yeah, there's some best indie games. Carry On, I had heard of it. I wanted to buy it several times. Ended up not doing it due to time constraints and like.
What else do they have for indie games?
Fall Guys.
Oh.
Fall Guys, a lot of people like that game. That's good. They got Hades. Hades is a game that's very popular right now. Spelunky 2. Don't know what that is.
That's a sequel to Spelunky.
My God. And then there's a game called Spiritfarer. Don't know what that is. Everyone's into Among Us. That's a best mobile game. Snuck in for mobile games somehow.
It's a bunch of like mediocre party games.
Yeah, I don't know what Among Us is about. They've got...
Oh, it's like basically like I looked into this. Like we're gonna sound really out of touch here, but I looked into Among Us, and it's basically like a murder mystery type thing.
It's like Mafia.
Yeah, it's like Mafia.
Genshin Impact.
I played that. It's all right.
It looks good. I'm into these anime waifus.
It's like Breath of the Wild with gacha.
And anime waifus.
There's husbandos too.
Insert picture of Kanye drooling. And then there's a bunch of other games on here that, you know, I'm just kind of like, I guess I'll see. I didn't vote for anything that I didn't have enough knowledge about. Like even for like, say you're voting Game of the Year, I kind of wanted to know what some of the other candidates were about. Luckily this year I'm like, oh, I know what these are kind of about.
You know most of them. Yeah,
I know enough to know that whatever Hades is not gonna touch all of those candidates. So that's kind of, I guess,
where we're at. We're gonna have our own year in review, probably the next podcast. But that's it for now, guys.
Weeabuds out.